How is it possible that a catcher in baseball or softball can't throw the ball back to the pitcher without either spiking it into the ground or airmailing it 7, 8, 10 feet over the pitcher's head? How is it that a hitter in baseball or softball can't get the bat off their shoulders? Or a pole vaulter who can't plant and continues to run through? Or a golfer who has what's called the yips when they're putting or chipping? Repetitive performance problems are a really common part of sports. And what I'd like to talk about today is how to understand where they come from and lay the foundation for other videos I'm going to do about how to work them through. Now, I realize we're still dealing with the pandemic and it's going to be here a long time. And even now, as some athletes are able to get back to their sports, I have these athletes that are coming to work with me for these kinds of problems. And a lot of times people feel like, well, that guy's a head case, or she's just not mentally tough, she's mentally weak. And let me let you in on a little secret. These kinds of performance problems have nothing to do with mental problems. They're actually biological problems. And I'm going to explain that. I'm Dr. Alan Goldberg. I'm a sports performance consultant, and I've been doing this work probably since the dinosaurs roamed the earth. And what I want to talk about today is one of my specialties, which is helping athletes overcome fears and blocks and repetitive performance problems. And when I say that the yips, or these repetitive performance problems, are biological, what I mean is they're a product of your nervous system. And your nervous system doing its job. It's not because you're mentally weak or there's something else going on with your mind. And let me explain. We're mammals. The most important thing to mammals, based on how our nervous systems work, is survival. Mammals don't give a hill of beans about clearing 12 feet, about throwing the ball back to the pitcher, about putting short putts. Mammals don't care about that. They care about survival. So our nervous system, our brain, and all of our connecting senses that connect us basically to the environment to let us know that we're safe, sight, smell, hearing, feel, they're geared to keeping us safe. They're geared to kind of scoping out danger and responding to it. And if we sense danger, what happens is our nervous systems get activated. We start revving up. Now, what does that mean in English? We start feeling nervous or frustrated or overamped. We have physiological signs of that. Our heart rate increases, breathing gets faster and shallower, our muscles tighten, our minds race. And at some point, our ability to kind of cope with the situation is compromised. And it's compromised because at some point in that activation cycle, our self-protective motor programs automatically click in. Now, most of you understand that as fight or flight. See, the problem, though, is if you're in an athletic situation, you're getting ready to run down the runway to vault, you have to throw the ball back to the pitcher, you're on the mound getting ready to pitch. You can't fight or flee if you're overamped, if you're feeling really scared. You're trapped. And anytime any mammal's in a situation where they're in danger, and again, that's perceived danger, it's not necessarily related to what's actually going on. Our nervous system is reading the situation as dangerous. There's a default survival option, and that's called the freeze or immobility response. We basically shut down. Simply put, we can't get our body to do what it knows how to do. How else do you explain being unable to throw a ball back to the pitcher? Or a gymnast who's been doing round-up, back handspring, back tucks forever, and all of a sudden she can't get her body to do it. And that's classic freeze. What that's caused by, again, is a sense of danger. Now, where does that danger come from? There are 4 sources of danger that feed these kind of yip responses, that feed these performance problems. And one source of danger is past injuries or past upsetting events. Okay, and they don't even have to be physical injuries necessarily. You can get humiliated, you can get yelled at by a coach, you can get embarrassed, you can choke under pressure. But what ends up happening is we have a tendency to memorize these experiences out of awareness, and we will hold and we'll memorize everything about them, the images, the sights, the sounds, the thinking that goes with it, where we feel it in our body, and we'll hold that in our system for months and years. We're not aware of it, but that's where it will sit. So one source of danger that feeds the yips, or these repetitive performance problems, is past upsetting events. And one of those upsetting events, believe it or not, is you can see another athlete getting injured. And it wasn't even you, but that can be experienced by you as a trauma, as an upset. Another source of danger is how athletes then respond to themselves. And most athletes, when they begin to struggle, they get really angry and upset. They put themselves down. They get frustrated. They ask themselves, why can't you do this? This is ridiculous. That just makes us nervous. When you get upset with yourself and angry and you start comparing yourself because you're struggling, that's only going to increase your nervous system's activation, and you're going to get more stuck. Third source of danger is how coaches respond to you when you're struggling with these performance problems. And a lot of coaches don't understand them, and they get angry, and they get frustrated, and they get demeaning. And when coaches get impatient and yell and put an athlete down and make them feel badly about themselves, that in itself is traumatic. That increases that inner sense of danger that underlying these performance problems is what feeds them. And the fourth source of danger is basically how your parents respond to your performance problems. And sometimes parents, meaning well, don't want to see you suffer, but they're offering suggestions about what you need to do, or they're getting angry, or they're getting frustrated with you, and they come back with helpful advice like, why don't you just do it? You know how to do this. You've been doing it all your life. Just do it. See, the problem is when you have a performance problem that is fueled by past upsetting events, by what I call trauma, your thinking brain, logic, is useless. That's not what's running the show here. What's running the show is that hindbrain and the nervous system, what's sometimes called the reptilian brain that we have, which keeps us safe. And the reptilian brain doesn't care about logic. If you perceive danger, even if it's not like actual danger, that will be enough to trigger this shutdown. So in many ways, when I'm working with athletes, one of the things that I try to teach is this understanding that your nervous system is a compass, and the yips and other performance problems are a product of your nervous system going into the danger zone and then you shutting down into freeze. And how is the nervous system a compass? It tells you exactly what you need to do. And at that point, what you need to do is not throw the ball correctly, not plant that pole in the plant box if you're a vaulter, not get yourself to throw your tumbling pass. What your nervous system needs you to do is settle and calm down, is take some steps backwards to help yourself feel safer. Until you feel safer, that performance problem, that freeze response, is going to continue. And what I'm going to do in future videos is I'm going to talk a little bit further about how to understand these problems in a way that gives you some strategies, understanding that you need to use your nervous system as a compass, but how you actually do that. But again, just to sum up what I'm talking about, a lot of these repetitive performance problems are a product of your biology perceiving danger and responding to it with this freeze response. If you find you can't get yourself to think straight, you can't get your body to do what it knows how to do, you're in freeze. You can't do simple tasks you're in freeze. And the way out of it is you have to begin to learn to listen to your nervous system to help your system settle, because all of our trained performance skills go offline when we're overactivated, but when our nervous system's settled, all those trained performance problems come back online. You see, you don't need to work on physical technique when you're in this kind of a slump, when you have these kinds of performance problems. Physical technique is not the issue. You're not performing well, and you might be using poor technique because your nervous system is overactivated and stuck in freeze. The instant you settle yourself and you start feeling safer, those skills come back online and you do not have to do anything else. And we're going to talk more specifically about that in future videos. Hope you found this interesting, maybe even helpful. If you liked it, you want to hear more, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon. Please leave me comments and questions. I always love being relevant and answering these kinds of things with future videos. Thank you for listening.